The journey of healing postpartum is not about fitting into our pants. Do you want to fit into your pants and your pre-pregnancy jeans? Of course. Who doesn't? There's nothing wrong with those feelings, but the idea that like you've bounced back or you've healed and recovered your body fully just because you fit back into those jeans is a fallacy. There is so much healing that needs to happen that is so independent of how big the size of our body is or how little the size of our body is. The true healing needs to come from actually healing so many parts. So we're going to dive into what true healing is today. And the most beautiful part about this is, yes, you want to fit into your jeans? We can help you with that. True healing can help improve your core function, which sometimes can help you fit back into your jeans. Now, am I going to sit here and say like that's the goal? Absolutely not. Like we want to feel really good in our skin. Of course, I went through the same exact thing 3 times postpartum where all I wanted to do is fit back into my pre-pregnancy clothes. So the reality that I want to get across is that true healing doesn't mean fitting into your pre-pregnancy jeans, and you can have a lot of issues even if you do fit into your pre-pregnancy jeans. So true healing after baby comes from healing your body from the inside out. Let's dive into what that looks like. The very first thing that you're going to want to do to start healing your body after baby is to address the dysfunction that has happened in the tissue. So after baby, our abdominal walls have spread apart. Our pelvic floors usually tighten after you birth the baby through the vaginal canal. Everything is excessively opened, but that also can create micro tears in the tissue. And then when things recoil, they recoil extra tight, and they recoil even tighter if you have some scar tissue or tearing in the perineum. And so our bodies reactively are super good at healing, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't need to be supported. So we want to help our cores come back together. We want to help our pelvic floor become dynamic again. And again, most of the time I see postpartum pelvic floors get really tight, but people are sold that they need to do all this core tightening and Kegels in order to help their bodies fit back into their pregnancy jeans. And that is not the answer to true postpartum healing. The idea is that we want to get the most dynamic pelvic floor possible so that when you're walking or running or doing any exercise that you have that range of motion. Now, if we don't have that range of motion of the pelvic floor and things are really tight because they've recoiled, that ends up putting a lot of stress on our pelvic organs. So if you imagine that I have my pelvic floor here, which is a bowl shape, and I put a grape in that bowl, and the tighter it gets, the more it squeezes that grape. That's the pressure that we place on our organ. So our organs, so like our bladder and our rectums, we want to relax those muscles and bring them to a normal length so we're not squeezing and putting more pressure on those muscles. So how do you do that? Well, a couple things. The first thing you can do is you can start with breathing. Breathing is a great way to start to retrain the length of your pelvic floor and retrain the length of your diaphragm, which is the top and the bottom of your core. I will link a video here into this at the bottom of the show notes where you can find that another video that describes more about breathing and gives you some examples about how to breathe. The next thing you should do is you should work with a pelvic expert physical therapist who is gonna help you retrain your core and your pelvic floor and help bring back the range of motion of these muscles. And we do that through intravaginal therapy where we release the pelvic floor muscles. You can also do this by mapping out your own pelvic floor muscles if that feels comfortable to you. And then with a lot of breath work to help retrain the diaphragm. If you have scar tissue across your belly, so maybe you had a C-section, it would be very important to start working all the layers of the C-section in order to help improve the contractibility of the core and help those muscles turn back on, help the skin turn back on, help the fascial integrity turn back on. If the scar tissue stays and creates density in the tissue, scar tissue isn't very elastic, so it doesn't like contract very well and extend very well. So we want to work on helping reduce that scar tissue so we can really get the range of motion of the core as well, so of the abdominal wall as well. So those are two things that are absolutely essential before really diving into any type of, hard, vigorous exercise program. We want our muscles at a really good length. We want our cores turned back on. And in order to do that, we want to help limit the compensations that form immediately postpartum, which is that tension in the pelvic floor and then scar tissue that has occurred from the birthing process itself. All right, the next thing we want to do is we want to prioritize healthy bathroom habits. So you maybe pushed a baby out for a couple hours, maybe it took 3 hours, maybe 4. A lot of times I don't see hospitals let people go longer than pushing for 4 hours until they call it a C-section. But sometimes people go for a lot longer. Sometimes people barely have to do a push and the baby comes out. The longer we push, the more that our organs tend to be strained down into our vaginal canal, and we want to help our organs go back into their places. So one thing we want to make sure we do is keep really good bathroom habits to help reduce further tension on the vagina, on the vaginal canal, and on the pelvic floor, so we can help facilitate and optimize the healing of the entirety of our bodies. So 2 things. Let's go over how to have a healthy, happy bowel movement and how and when to pee. All right, first things first, let's talk about a bowel movement. So in order to have a healthy bowel movement without straining our organs further, we don't want to push our poop out. So say you go and you sit on the toilet and you know you want to breathe the poop out, but you feel like you just have to like push, or sometimes we're in such a rush, we just like go sit on the toilet and we push. So we want to train you to, when you get the urge to poop, you want to go within 15 minutes of that urge. Once you get the urge, I want you to take a break, sit on the toilet, and then we're gonna breathe the poop out. So you can either sit in an upright position. If you have a prolapse, sometimes it might feel better to sit backwards, or you can sit forward. If you have a squatty potty is a great option because that helps bring the knees above the hips, which helps straighten the chute of the colon, which is called the anorectal angle. It straightens that chute. So we can also mimic that by leaning forward. And once we're in this leaning forward position, we'll take 3 nice belly breaths. So take a nice deep breath in and exhale. As you inhale into your belly, you're imagining your anus opening. So you're thinking about inhaling, anus opening, maybe vagina opening, exhaling and letting it go. Ideally, your stool is so soft but well formed that you can just breathe the poop out. If not, then on the 3rd breath in, at the top of the 3rd inhale, you can bear down. And what that means is that you can bear down and push a little bit, but you want to do it in a way that it'd be the same thing as if you were trying to pass gas, but you don't want anyone to see you pass gas. So like very small. You're not like going all out and straining. This is a very small movement. So that would be what you want to do when you have the urge to poop and need to poop. That's the safest way to get the stool out of your body, is to truly breathe that poop out. All right. On the flip side, let's talk bladder. So bladder, a healthy bladder can hold urine for 3 to 4 hours. As we are postpartum and no longer have a baby, a uterus, a heavy fetus on our bladders, then that tends to allow us to have that normal capacity back, which is that every 3 to 4 hours. If you're going way more frequently than that, a lot of times that is an issue, and we would love to address that. That means you have probably like an urge incontinence, meaning you just get that signal to go all the time. A lot of times that is due to a tight pelvic floor. And if you're not able to hold your urine when you sneeze or laugh or jump, that is called a stress incontinence. And so there's urge incontinence, stress incontinence, and you can have both. All right, so in order to help prevent that stress incontinence or the urge incontinence, we want to breathe the poop out. But in order to have normal holding capacities, there's a couple things you can try. So if you're getting the urge to pee before that 3 hour mark, you can start to say, hey, can I delay this urge for 10, 15 minutes? Maybe you phone a friend. Maybe you count down from 100. Maybe you start working on something new and just try to change that urge. The other thing you can do is just take some nice deep belly breaths. Think about inhaling into your belly, exhaling, and letting it go. As you inhale, you imagine pelvic floor opening, and you imagine that relaxation of pelvic floor, and that can actually help decrease the urge. You can also use your hands to help press here on the vulva itself. You might not want to do that in public, but that can help decrease the urge as well. So those are just some urge delay techniques. But once you decide, yes, I'm going to go pee, hopefully it's been 3 to 4 hours, you go and sit on the toilet and you pee. You want your feet completely flat on the floor. You don't want to be popped up on your toes because that is going to overflow to pelvic floor and can cause some tension, which means you'd be trying to pee through a more tightened pelvic floor. So we want the feet completely flat. You want the knees far apart, so you don't want them close together, because trying to pee with your knees close together is again going to increase the tension of the pelvic floor, not allowing full relaxation so the bladder and urethra can open and you can get the urine out. The more you're urinating through a tightened pelvic floor, the more dysfunction that's going to happen. So those are 2 really important bathroom habits to attain during postpartum. All right, so how you poop and how you pee is going to be super important into helping the organs go back into their homes postpartum and allowing full core healing to happen. All right, the final thing we're going to discuss, we talked about the scar tissue and the abdominal wall. We talked about bathroom habits. Now we are going to talk about glute strength. Building back our butts postpartum is going to be extremely essential. Getting your hip extension back and being able to use your butt is very, very important. A lot of times you maybe have heard moms have flat butts and that's like a thing. Well, that doesn't have to be a thing. And the reason they have flat butts is oftentimes because after they have babies, they don't get their hip extension back. So that is the ability of the leg to go behind the body. And so for you to actually use your butt, all right? So we want to be able to use our butts. And we do that by getting the leg to go behind our body when we're doing certain things like walking or squatting or lunging or whatnot. And so using your butt and starting to do some glute work is going to be absolutely essential in the postpartum core recovery. So just to recap, yes, we want to fit into our jeans postpartum and get back to our jeans as much as we can, but that is so irrelevant when we're talking about true internal healing. True internal healing and getting your core back and your body back postpartum is really about getting yourself strong and getting your muscles and scar tissue worked on so that things can recoil and be in a normal position and not in an over-tightened position. This is going to improve the functionality of your core, which in 10 years is going to save the joints. And we want to get the organs to be in their places and really help them heal back into their locations that they should be, because after childbirth things tend to be a little bit more descended. So our bathroom habits are extremely important when we are working with recovering postpartum. So work hard to do those bathroom habits. And then last but not least, we talked about the importance of starting a glute program or adding glute strengthening and stretching your hip back into that extension so you can start to build your butt back postpartum. And yes, for aesthetic purposes, but mainly we want to build it back so it is protecting your joints and protecting your pelvic floor. Please like and subscribe to the video if you found this helpful. Also, I'd love to know at what point you are postpartum and tell us a little bit about if you've been able to incorporate the bathroom habits and if you have been able to breathe your poop out. This can be a lifesaver, although it does take discipline because as busy moms, we just sometimes want to poop and go. And the best thing we can do is actually sit down and breathe and take our time. All right, I hope you enjoyed this. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends, and join me next time. Take care.